Yo, what is going on, Who Dat Nation? We are live on Saints Now by Chat Sports here on Wednesday like we are pretty much every single week. But this week, we're going live a little bit later because we have a very, very special guest joining us. It is none other than the face of the franchise. It is none other than the leader of the Skrmetta-verse. It is none other than my guy, James Skrmetta. So everyone type, "Hey James," in the comment section. Show him some love. This has been the collab that we've been waiting for all Saints fans that they've been asking for. Now we finally deliver it. James, first of all, thank you for joining. Second of all, I got to say you do an excellent job over on your YouTube channel. I'm a big fan of the content you put out, and I have to say it's really, really exciting for me to have a guy that not only am I a fan of, but a guy I'd like to consider a friend here on the program. So, James, thank you so much for tuning in, my man.
What an intro. I have goosebumps.
Oh,
I mean, my God, what an intro, brother. That was fantastic.
Of
Thank
course.
you for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope the chat is fired up because I got chat pulled up right now.
Oh, yeah.
I just voted in the poll.
Oh,
We're going to be reading chat all night. I'm ready to roll.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, get in the comments. We're just going to let the audience continue to build up a little bit, and the conversation has already begun. Like James referenced, we have a live poll up there, so get in the comments. Who will start week one? Will it be Spencer Rattler? Will it be Tyler Shough? And, of course, we want to just say thank you once again to James for joining us. But, James, I just got to get your take on this whole Tyler Shough versus Spencer Rattler conversation. Because, obviously, both players, I think, have a case to be the QB1. So I just got to ask you, where do you think the quarterback battle ends up week one? Who do you think is going to take the snaps week one?
Hold on a second.
Oh,
I'm looking at the poll. Why isn't there a third option for Jake Haner?
Oh,
What's going on here, chat?
Well, we should have put a fourth.
What's the deal? What's up with the Jake Haner slander?
We also should add Hunter Dekkers to the conversation if we want to. If we want to.
Yeah. No, I think right now, this is a controversial yet brave, topic because either way you answer, you're wrong. It's very polarizing. I think right now, I would lean towards Spencer Rattler. I've been kind of pushing this narrative this whole offseason, really, where as I kept hearing about the way that Tyler Shough was being described, I was like, sounds like they're talking about Spencer Rattler.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like the same player. And
Mm-hmm.
like all this experience and all that. I don't really care what happened at Oregon and Texas Tech. I care what happens in the NFL.
Sure.
Rattler has actual NFL experience, has about the same arm talent. So I think Rattler is in the driver's seat for this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Shough could absolutely win it. I mean, Shough, if he balls out, I think he could get the job. But right now, I think Rattler will be the week one starter.
Yeah, well, and with Spencer Rattler, I do think, like you said, he has the NFL experience, and that is valuable. And for a guy in Kellen Moore, I believe that he isn't going to set up the Saints to fail. He's going to look at this as how are we going to try to win football games this year? Because let's be real, us fans can be honest and be realistic and say it's probably not going to be the best season in the whole wide world that we've ever seen of Saints football. But as a coach and as a player, you still strive for excellence. You still strive for wins and stuff. So, I do agree with you. I think Spencer Rattler might give the Saints week one the better opportunity to win. But, with Tyler Shough, it's not like he's some bum that we have to just disregard as well. Do you think that Tyler Shough will be seeing starting snaps throughout this season at any point?
Yeah, I mean, this could go for a while. I think it's crazy to think whoever wins in the offseason and whoever gets the nod week one is just the guy moving forward. I mean, we've seen, even with someone like Bryce Young, it can take 2 years or so development. They can get benched and start and benched and start. So I don't think either of these guys will pull away so dramatically that we don't see either of them.
Sure.
I mean, I think Rattler could play the first couple of weeks and Shough could come in, vice versa. So, yeah, I mean, if you are a Shough fan and he doesn't get the start, I don't think his career is over by any means. This is unique, though, because, like Kellen Moore, usually in a quarterback battle, you have a guy like Tyler Shough and a guy like Trevor Siemian or Andy Dalton or something where there's not much down the road for them. Like, even if they do start, it's like, okay, maybe 6, 7, 8 games, whatever. But with Shough and Rattler, the down the road is like the main thing.
Yeah.
I mean, even though Shough is a rookie, he's older than Rattler, so Rattler has a little bit of age behind him as far as an advantage. So I think the future is high for both these guys. I can't think of another example of a quarterback battle that is this intriguing for a team with two. It's like we're playing Madden.
Sure.
It's like two rookies, two same age, same everything. See who wins out, and then go from there.
Yeah, and one conversation that I see a lot of is like the Saints, and it's maybe not conversation, more discourse that I see online. It's like, oh, the Saints have the worst roster in the NFL. The Saints are the worst team. They're number 32 on the power rankings. Their quarterback room is a disaster. And I can understand and I can comprehend why people are saying the Saints are going to be bad because it's no mystery they're not going to win a Super Bowl this year. But yeah. I think that it's fair to say they have an underrated roster. I think it's fair to also say they have a lot of unknown because of all of the change in the quarterback position, the coaching staff, not just in terms of the head coach, but the entire staff, the philosophy, everything has changed. So we're like ushering in an entire new era of Saints football. And so for the quarterback position specifically, last question I want to ask you there, who do you think is the better quarterback? Like, who do you just want to hit? It's a hard question. It's not fair. But who was your guy that you think right now, like, that's the guy that I personally am a fan of understanding, look, you can change your mind at some point in time?
I try not to – I'm not exactly rooting for either quarterback per se. Like, I'm not rooting for the individual, I guess. What I would say, if I had to, put my stock into one, I'm always going to put the stock into the guy who I know has done it at the NFL level.
Sure.
Like Tyler Shough, I've seen his throws against – Pittsburgh or Clemson or Notre Dame, but I have no idea how he's going to handle an NFL locker room, a huddle, getting in and out of the snaps, the pressure and blitzes and an NFL defense. So I like the idea of Tyler Shough, but I just don't know if he can do it. So I'm leaning Spencer Rattler. I'm not going to say I'm rooting for Rattler,
sure,
but I would consider him the better quarterback until Tyler Shough proves me wrong.
Yeah.
Way too quick. I think way too quick people are like, okay, this rookie's the man. This rookie's awesome. But we have absolutely no clue I just saw a PFF quarterback ranking and JJ McCarthy was like 21.
Yeah.
He was ahead of Sam Darnold. It's like I've never seen him take a snap.
Yeah.
We just saw Sam Darnold lead a team to 14-3, have a great year. Why would I think JJ McCarthy can be better than that? So until I see it, it's hard for me to get all in on a guy.
Yeah, I think that's
something else you just said.
Yeah.
So the roster. So you hinted at the Saints all of a sudden are the worst team in the NFL. I think we do have an underrated roster, and you said that well because people are not factoring in because they don't really the national media doesn't watch the Saints, doesn't cover the Saints. We know that they're not factoring in who we did not have, and we didn't go get a free agent receiver or draft somebody, but think about the receiver room last year. All right, we have a brand spanking new number 1, number 2, and number 3 wide receiver. Whether they were already on the roster or not, that's the fact of the matter. So we've upgraded at wide receiver 1, 2, 3. We've upgraded at center. We've upgraded at left tackle, right tackle, left guard. We've upgraded at running back if Alvin Kamara plays the entire season. So I think it is a team where you have to be careful. You have to be careful saying this is the worst roster in the NFL because the worst roster in the NFL was last year when we had MVS, Dante Pettis, Jordan Mims, CEH.
Yeah,
like that was the worst.
Kevin
roster.
Austin Jr. taking meaningful snaps.
Stone Cold
like,
Kevin Austin Jr.
Nothing against those guys, but they're practice
respect.
squad dudes. They're wide receiver 4s and 5s and 6s, but they're having to be wide receivers 2s and 3s. Like it's just not fair. And
right. So you're talking about like that. The worst roster in the NFL won 5 games last year. So I just think it's crazy for people to be like, oh, no. This is a 1-win team. This is a 2-win team. This is a 3-win team.
Sure.
I don't buy into that.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And so I want to open up the conversation to the comment section and to the live chat here. Who do you think will start more games for the New Orleans Saints? And James, one of the things you said that I actually really liked was I don't like to pick a guy because it's just too hard to tell. And look, it's easy to kind of sit here and say, well, I like Tyler Shough, or I like Spencer Rattler, or I like Jake Haner, but the reality is, us Saints fans and the guys who cover the Saints, like, it doesn't matter what the name on the back of the jersey says. It really doesn't. What matters is right here in the logo right here, like, that's really what's important is that they're New Orleans Saints quarterbacks. Not a player, but the team. That's what's more important, at least in my personal opinion. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's our like, as a fan, it's perfectly fine to have a favorite player, and to root for a guy or whatever, but for what we do, I do think you have to put the team first and just kind of say, okay, whoever Kellen Moore says is the best quarterback, that's who I believe is the best quarterback.
Absolutely.
I trust Kellen. I trust Kellen with my life.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, well, and I actually wanted to kind of get to the coaching conversation here. The chat is blowing up. It's pretty split between Tyler Shough and Spencer Rattler. So, I honestly don't know where this is all going to go. But let's talk the coaching staff, because that's one thing that I want to segue into here. You mentioned the roster is underrated. You mentioned all of the things that have changed. But I think that even more so, you can take away all of those other aspects and you consider the changes at the coaching staff, because the offense and the defense now are more modern. They're also a little bit more fast-paced. They are in a position where they'll cater to the strengths. They're a better offense. So what do you think about the coaching staff hires at this point that we are at in the offseason / preseason process for next year?
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could build a coaching staff, it'd be who the Saints currently have. I mean, they are football dudes. They are young, innovative. They have great experience. I mean, Kellen Moore just won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, the most important thing in the NFL is offense. We have the last year's offensive coordinator of the Super Bowl team. Cool, sweet. All good with me, right? Like, even Brandon Staley, the fact that we have a defensive coordinator who was a head coach, who knows Kellen Moore, who can help him kind of be the head coach. Like, tell him, like, okay, look, this is the interview you got to do. This is the prep you got to do. Here's what a head coach, here's how the meetings are with the refs, like just that kind of stuff. And it really did line up very serendipitous that all these guys are available. Everything happened and we didn't screw up. Because look, say what you want about Mickey Loomis, chat, but Loomis could have took the easy way out. And he could have said, you know what? Okay, Mike McCarthy, cool. Be done with this. I'm not waiting around. Everyone knows Mike McCarthy, whatever. We'll take him. But he took a risk. And, I love the idea of an analytical mind, a guy who understands game theory optimization, who understands the fourth down probability and third and whatever, and should you go for two or should you kick a field goal or whatever. I'm all about that. And the fact that we have, really think about what the offense is doing. Super young offense, super young quarterback room, super young wide receiver room, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And they are being molded by a 36-year-old offensive-minded head coach coming off of a Super Bowl win, who no one outside of Kellen Moore knows what wins offensively in the NFL more. And that's who's leading the Saints. Like, what else could you ask for in a coaching staff? So I'm all about it. I love it. I've said it on my channel. I'll say it here. I think when it's all said and done, I think Kellen Moore will be the greatest head coach in New Orleans Saints history. I think he'll surpass Sean Payton, and I believe it more every single time I hear Kellen Moore talk.
Well, look, and I actually it's a crazy thing to say out loud, but I honestly don't think it's that far-fetched to say, because let's also consider the history of Saints football. It hasn't been that illustrious outside of the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era, but with Brandon Staley, you bring up good points. It is a really interesting dynamic between the two coaches. Staley was a former head coach, not very successful, but last time he held the position of defensive coordinator, his team was the best in the league and they won a Super Bowl. Granted, good roster, a lot of talent there, but he's only 42 years old and he's a young player that can appeal and can relate and work with a lot of these guys on the roster. Same with Kellen Moore. He is that 36 years old or something. I mean, he's so young that he is a guy who can relate to the players. He knows what it's like to be a player. He knows what it's like to be in the heat. And I think that in itself is just extremely valuable. And so I love the Kellen Moore hire. To your point of, they could have just gone Mike McCarthy. They could have just tried and really, really went all out blitz on Aaron Glenn. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. They could have gone all out on Joe Brady. They could have done a lot of different things. But ultimately, this is a coaching staff also that has a lot to prove. Kellen Moore was not great. Wasn't great. He was really good, kind of fell off with Brandon Staley. The Chargers were kind of a weird situation, but then he gets to Philly, wins a Super Bowl, and all things are, moving up for him. Brandon Staley, head coach, kind of has a dip. Now he has stuff to prove, and he's trying to get back up into the coaching rankings. So, this is a team that just has a chip on its shoulder, it feels like. And I think that's a win for the roster and for the team.
Well, another huge thing about the coaches, a lot of the times when you have a good or successful team, the coordinators go or whatever, and that's always a benefit to having an offensive head coach, is because your offensive coordinator can't leave because your head coach is your offensive coordinator. Yep. Well, we also have Brandon Staley, who, because he was a failed head coach recently, no one's rushing to go make him their head coach. So even that is this like really lucky situation where even if the Saints blow all the expectations out of the water, we are pretty much guaranteed this coaching staff or some kind of continuity for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to rush and get Brandon Staley if we have a good year this year,
Sure.
right? Kellen Moore is the head coach. He's 36, so our offense is going to be the same.
Yep.
A lot of other teams like the Eagles. The Eagles are a perfect example. Back-to-back years lost their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator.
Yep.
Or 2 years ago they lost their defensive, but they're losing coordinators every year. So they're losing some continuity there. We just saw what happens with the Lions, where Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn leave. So they're going to be a completely different identity. The Saints are set up for future success. And if this is going to go how we think it is, where Mickey's going to shed these contracts and these guys are going to retire and the roster is going to get younger, like 2027, 2028, 2029, we are set up to be in a perfect spot.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Perfect spot.
I couldn't agree more. And more just to kind of piggyback off of that, not only are you set up coaching wise, like you said that you shed some of those contracts, you still have, if it's Tyler Shough, Spencer Rattler, or maybe you draft somebody else a couple of years down the road, you potentially still have a guy on a rookie contract that you can really, really build around. And that's what feels like the model that's been pretty successful is invest around the young rookie quarterback and try to build around him and then let the ball roll and see what you can get going there. I look at the 49ers and their Super Bowl window. I feel like it's close because they paid Brock Purdy. But, and before that, he was the cheapest quarterback I think we've ever seen. Being Mr. Irrelevant. Yeah. And they were able to put so much money invested into the defense, into the weapons, into Brandon Ayuk, Bosa, Fred Warner, Debo. All these guys. They were able to pay Christian McCaffrey, and now the Super Bowl window is a little bit closed. It's just an interesting, what's the word? Philosophy. It's an interesting philosophy to have, and I couldn't agree more with you. I really do think the Saints are set up for long-term success. But let's talk.
Think about 2029. All right, pretend we're in 2029. So think about the contracts that are be gone in 2029. All right, Carr's contract, Taysom Hill, Michael Thomas, Demario Davis, all those are gone. Now think about the roster. You've got a quarterback, whether it's Shough or Rattler, on their rookie deal. Mm-hmm. You've got a left tackle on his rookie deal. You've got a right tackle on his rookie deal. You have a 40-year-old head coach. All that stuff is insane.
Yeah.
So you gotta see the forest through the trees sometimes. And a lot of these questions of, are the Saints gonna make the playoffs this year? It's who cares? Mm-hmm. We're not. If they do, fine. But we're looking a few years ahead. We're truly building something here.
Yeah.
So, it's set up for some serious success.
Absolutely, and I hope that this is the success. It feels like it's a success that can be sustained as well. It can not just be a couple of years. It can be a full-blown another era of great Saints football where it's 10, 12 years of great football. You just gotta get there. A little patience can go a long way. A little bit of, it's gonna be tough, but that's okay. That, just having that mentality, having that mindset really can be impactful and really beneficial. I want to ask you about, though, the NFC South because, let's just be real. It's not like they're the most dangerous division in all of sports. Let's just call a spade here. I don't think it's crazy to say maybe the Saints can find a way to backpedal if they absolutely shock everyone. By no means is that my expectation. But a hope? Absolutely. What do you think? Do you think that NFC South is just a two-team race between the Buccaneers and then maybe whoever else can put it together? Or do you think it's truly an open competition?
I think the Bucs are definitely the best team in the division. I think it's pretty easy to sit back and say, the Bucs are sweet. The Bucs they know what's going on. They're in a winning window.
Yep.
But I don't think there's really anything separating the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Saints. And man, nothing drives me more crazy than Falcons glazing. And it's not even because of the Saints Falcons thing. It's just the ultimate are y'all watching the games?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Can we be done talking about Kyle Pitts? Can we be done talking about some of these players? It's over. The whole they have all these top 10 picks, they have all this stuff. It's no, they don't.
Yeah.
These guys are proven to just not be that good. Bijan is good, but Bijan is no better than whatever other. He's not even Jahmyr Gibbs, right? So I think the Falcons get overglazed. I think the Falcons probably have the worst. I like Zach Robinson, but I think Rahima is a horrible head coach.
Yep.
I'm still a little lukewarm on Bryce Young as far as like his future. I mean, we saw him play average to below average for like 3.5 games, and now all of a sudden he's supposed to be completely fixed. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think the Saints, I agree with you that I think you can back into this division with 9 wins, something like that. Or you at least can compete, with 9 wins. So if I think the Saints are a 6-7 win team and they surprise me, win a couple coin flips, yeah, I mean, I think it's not realistic, I wouldn't say, to like sit there and be like, we're going to win the division, but I think we could certainly be in that conversation in the end of the year.
Absolutely. And I think that's totally fair to say. Like, again, it's not like this is going to be a year where we're going to win a Super Bowl. Can we blow people away and have an absolutely insane year? Sure, we could. But is it likely? Probably not. And I think that the main focus needs to be for the future, like you said. And it needs to be like thinking of ahead. In 2025, we obviously know it's the first year of everything. New coaching staff, new quarterbacks. Like, this is the first time that we're really getting to tear it all down and really try to see what's new in, 20-plus years? So first time in my lifetime, at least, since I've been watching Saints football, that we're completely going out with the old and ushering entirely in the new. So I'm excited for it. With this season, like, I want to get to some games this year. Really quick, James, do you have a record prediction for this season? Like, it might be hard putting you on the spot, but do you have a record prediction?
So I have a range right now.
Fair.
I think we need to wait and see we got to wait and see who the quarterbacks are, what everything looks like. But I would say the landing spot is I feel comfortable with 6, 7, or 8 wins.
Absolutely.
Like, if you look at the schedule, I usually think like you split divisional opponents, and then we have a pretty easy schedule. Titans, Patriots. I mean, some of those games where it's like we're right now like 3-point dogs. It's like, I can see that coming a little closer to a coin flip game, like the Giants. Same thing with them. So I think 6, 7, 8 somewhere in there would be a success. I think 6, 7, 8 would be fine.
Yeah.
I think anything under 6, like 5 and below, something went wrong. Something didn't take, whether it's Rattler or Shough or Kellen Moore or something's wrong if we go backwards. And then obviously if we go ahead of 8 wins, then we're way ahead of schedule. But I'm pretty comfortable with 6. If I had to pick one, I would say 6 wins, but 6, 7, 8, I'm cool with.
Yeah, no, I think I like that. That's kind of where I land, depending on the day. Sometimes I'm feeling overly optimistic, and I'll say 8, 9 wins. Some days I'm like, dude, this team just may win like 3 or 4. But I always find myself usually around 6 or 7 is kind of where I'm seeing it. And like, just going back to the coaching staff, like, I think that alone will give you one more win than you got last year. I mean, you got 5 wins with Darren Rizzi and Dennis Allen as your head coach, a bunch of more quarterback turnover, a beat-up roster. Like, just in terms of the changes made alone, I think that in itself earns you one more win.
I mean, look at last year. Like, think about last year, like how bad last year was. Okay, think about how hurt everybody was, how ugly everything was. That Commanders game is an absolute coin flip. Like, even that, like those kind of things in the NFL where at that point in the season, the Saints are horrific. Like, there is no one but Spencer Rattler led the team in rushing 2 of his starts.
Yep.
And even in that, we took an NFC championship caliber team. We took them to the absolute limit. Yep. So it's not as easy as just like team A bad, team B good, then loss here, win here, loss here. So, I mean, I think anything can happen on any given Sunday, obviously, but our schedule's easy enough. I also think it's a huge, huge benefit that we don't play a primetime game.
Could not agree more.
That works in our favor. We never have to worry about a bad schedule. We never have to worry about short weeks or anything like that. So, I know that's a polarizing thing too. I know a lot of people are upset about the primetime game, but
look, why?
It works out.
We've also been bad on primetime previous years. Like, why would you want to be on primetime? And honestly, which of these games would be that matchup? Like, maybe the matchup against the Buccaneers. You can probably count any of the NFC South matches. Maybe is one of those primetime games. But honestly, like, I have a hard time buying stock into any of those games being the game that is Monday Night Football. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Come on. Let's not waste everyone's time and put the Saints back on prime time. And, again, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, I think it's totally fine that we're not getting the national spotlight because of all of the reasons you said with the rest advantage, with all of those things. Like, it's okay. You don't need that. You get to keep your process. You get to keep your routine intact all season long without having to really change stuff up because of your schedule and whatnot. So
I wasn't even thinking about it before, but one of my commenters mentioned that the best storyline is probably the Bears game because you could have Spencer Rattler versus Caleb Williams.
That's true.
You could have Dennis Allen versus his old team.
Yep.
So that, Kellen Moore versus Ben Johnson. So the Bears Saints is, which I would have never even thought about. Because I always like, okay, you just put Falcons Saints on primetime, whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, Saints Bears could be depending on who's starting.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point as well. I want to talk Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara just to kind of round out this conversation. Alvin Kamara, we're going into year 9. Is he going to get 1,000? Is he going to do 1,000 yards this year?
Yeah, I think I was just having this conversation today, but I think this is going to be a huge year for Kamara. He was already on pace for 1,000 last year, and now you're giving him a better offensive-minded coach. You're giving him a way better offensive line. So I think, if anybody in chat's a betting connoisseur, be watching for Alvin Kamara's season-long rushing yards prop. Mm-hmm. Last year it was like 650. It was super low. This year will probably be closer to 800, but still, I think Kamara's going to have a huge year because I also think Trevor Penny's going to have a big year at guard. So. Yeah. I think Kamara, I would say out of everything we talked about, if any prediction I'm comfortable in is Alvin Kamara getting over 1,000 yards.
I think that's a lock as well. I mean, just knowing the strengths that Alvin Kamara has and understanding that Kellen Moore knows how to tap into and appeal to those strengths to set them up for success is such a big factor for the Saints winning football games next year. Like, I think Alvin Kamara is a massive, massive part of this offense. Same with Taysom Hill. Like, kind of hard to sit here and say he's going to have 1,000 yards when we don't even know when he's going to be back. But I can
he's
tell
gonna
you,
miss so much.
Yeah, he's going to be impactful though when he's back. And I don't think the Saints should be rushing him back. Like, realistically, this might be the last season we get to see of good Taysom Hill football, or maybe great Taysom Hill football, and then maybe there's a slight decline. I don't know. It's just like there's a lot of good talent and there's a lot of good players in the veterans in Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill on the offensive side of the football. But there's so much excitement in the youth with Devin Neal, with Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. I mean, heck, I'll even say having Brandon Cooks back is really, really fun. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, that's an intriguing guy to have on the roster. So, considering the wide receiver group, what do you think we should expect with Chris Olave? Like, do you think he's going to go crazy with all of the additions and all of the change that we've seen offensively?
Olave is in an interesting spot because so much depends on who the quarterback is and all that. I do think Kellen is going to want to run the football a lot more. I think Kubiak's offense is much more of like a play action, deep ball kind of thing. But I think Olave's numbers may suffer because of Kellen Moore's scheme, but if Olave can stay healthy, I think he's a stud for sure.
Yep.
So it's all about with him is health. I will say if Rattler is the starter, he is going to get a ton of volume. Because Rattler loves Olave, talks about it all the time, talks about how he's got to get him the ball. I think Rattler knows enough, like, hey, I got to get my ball to the best players. So if Rattler's the guy, I think Olave would have an enormous year just volume-wise. Mm-hmm. But, I think Olave is a legit – last year I was making the argument that he's a top 15 quarterback or a wide receiver. But, yeah, him getting hurt, you never know how that is the next year.
Sure.
But I think Olave's a stud. I do have a follow-up question to your question.
Hit me.
The hell were you talking about Bub Means having over 1,000 yards on social media today? What's going on here? Explain yourself.
Hey, it's a hot take for a reason. So,
brother,
long story short,
I couldn't believe I was driving. I had to pull over.
Let me explain here. Let me explain.
I thought you got hacked.
Let me explain. You can see I'm getting red because I feel the heat coming on.
Jesus.
Let me explain here. So for what it's worth, if you guys don't know, I tweeted out hot take: Bub Means will have over 1,000 receiving yards. If you disagree, explain why. If you agree, explain why. I'm gonna say I think it could happen. Because I think Bub Means could be a very highly featured part of the offense. And the Saints, obviously, it's no mystery they're missing that big-bodied X wide receiver. So if Bub Means, this is a big if Bub Means can live up to the bill and he can over-exceed expectations, he can take over as that X receiver, I think he could be an excellent complement to Chris Olave based on the skill set. Like, I think that's what's missing on this offense is that X receiver. And does that mean you need to go and trade for somebody right now? No, I think that's actually a player that will come into the roster in the future. But I do think with Bub Means, he could possibly be that guy. And he could be the person who that X receiver role will go to. When you look at the size profiles and you look at the athleticism coming out of college, him and Michael Thomas, I'm not saying they're the same player, very similar relative athletic scores, very similar size profiles. So I think the role could be similar. Not the player, not the production, not all of that. You're not going to get 180-plus catches. But I think you could see the role of Michael Thomas finally be filled in by a player like Bub Means. So maybe, just maybe, I know it's a hot take. I know it's ridiculous. Did I fire some people up? Probably. But, you know, it's what we do.
I mean, Bub Means had 9 catches last year. He had 9 more catches than I did. I was sitting in the stands 14 Crown and sodas deep. Hey, I'm rooting for him, though. If he does, that's a hell of a call by you.
Dude, I know, again, I understand that it's probably not going to happen. I know that I'm probably going to get flamed here. Freezing Cold Takes has already bookmarked my tweet. I guarantee it. That being said, it's all right. We can have some fun, right? We can have a little bit of fun.
Bub Means should send you a jersey or something after seeing that.
I know,
he had to get the notification. Was like, whoa. Hey,
dude, yeah, no. Well, I posted it on Instagram, and then it was a picture of him at OTAs, and he reposted on his story, but without the caption. I'm like, damn it, did you see what I said, though? I said something crazy, awesome about you. I hope you saw it, Bub.
No, he was looking vascular. Yeah,
yeah.
I think Bub, I mean, I would assume he's seen it by now. So
yeah, well, and look, again, could it happen? Probably not, but it's fun to talk about, and it's one of those things, I just overly optimistic. Why not?
Yeah, let it rip.
Fun? Yeah. It rip. No, it's all good, and it's one of those things too. Maybe we do see Keenan Allen come in. Maybe we do see an Amari Cooper come in. Maybe there is an addition to the wide receiver group. But for as of now, I personally think the X receiver role will go to Bub Means, just in terms of the role. Not saying he's Michael Thomas, not saying he's Marcus Colston, none of that. Just the role in itself of lining up in the X, being the physical guy that operates over the middle. That's just how I feel things could go. But we're going to get into the audience interaction part here in just a few minutes. But I want you guys to hit the sub button right now. Saints Now, we're been putting out a lot more content recently. Turn on the notifications. I'll tell you what, not just subscribe to Saints Now, go subscribe to my guy, James Skrmetta. The link to his to his YouTube channel will be in the comments and description of this video. So I highly encourage you, go check out his work. He does awesome, awesome stuff. So.